Hello and welcome to my screencast. The topic of this video are the if-then and the if-then-else statements. The question is, why do we need the if-then statement? And the answer is, we use the if-then statement when we want to execute code only when a certain condition is met. Let me show you the usage in an example. The user enters his age in a dialog box. If the number the user entered is above 50, then a message box with the text "You are generation 50 plus" will be shown. If the age is up to 50, then nothing will happen. The result will look like this. I click on the button to start the macro, and first I enter an age of 55 and click OK. And the message box with "You are generation 50 plus" is shown. I click OK and run the macro again. I click on age check and now I enter an age of 45. Click OK and nothing happens. That's correct. So let us start to create our macro in a new workbook. First we open the Visual Basic Editor with Alt F11 and we create a new module with Insert Module and we name it Main. The first line in a module is as always option explicit to force variable declaration. Now we begin our sub that we will name age check. So sub age check. The sub has no parameter, so I can hit enter and the parentheses and the end sub is added automatically. In the first step, we have to handle the user input of his age. We will store the user input of the age in an integer value. So we write dim age as int. Please note that I used the code completion of VBA and therefore I only type int and then hit the space key to invoke the code completion. So some lines of blanks. Now we create an input box that we show to the user where he enters his age. When the user presses OK, this value should be assigned to our variable age. So I begin with indenting and input box blank. The prompt is please enter your age. The title will be age check and we will use a default value of 0. This creates the input box, but does not assign the user-entered value to our age variable. So I have to add age equals and after input box parentheses open and parentheses closed. Hitting enter, input box is converted from lowercase to mixed case, so I know the input box command was entered correctly. Let us check if the input box works as expected. The cursor is located inside the macro, and to run I only have to hit F5. We see the title age check and the prompt please enter your age. I enter 55 for my age, where we see the default value of 0. Pressing OK. No error, the input box is closed, everything is fine. Please note that for simplicity reasons I did not include any check if the value the user enters is correct. In real macros, always check if the user input is correct and handle mistyping. Now let us handle if we should show the message box or not. The if-then statement consists of the following parts. It begins with the keyword if. Then the condition to be met check follows. And the line is ended with the keyword then. If this condition is true, the code following this line will be executed. And at the end of the if-then statement, and if follows. What does this mean in our case? If the age is greater 50, then something should happen. So I write after blank line, if. Then the condition to be met follows with age greater 50 and the keyword then. Immediately after hitting enter, I insert a blank line and type the ending statement and if. It is a good habit when using the if-then clause to immediately write the and if after the then statement, so you never forget to add it. Now I write the code for presenting the message box in between the if and if with some indentation. So MSG box, the prompt will be you are generation 50 plus. The OK button only, so VBA OK only. Title is age check. Please note the indentation. With indenting, you see easily which statements are executed when the condition is met. This indicates a good programming style. Before we start the macro, let us recap shortly the macro. We have a dim statement where the user entered age is stored. An input box is shown to the user with the text please enter your age and the title age check. We do not check if the user enters a valid number, and for simplicity we trust the user that he only enters numbers. Then we test if the age is greater than 50, and then, and only then, the user gets a message box with the prompt you are generation 50 plus with the title age check. We revisited our macro, we found no logic errors, and so we try to run the macro. Normally, it's a good idea to save the worksheet before starting a macro. The cursor is located inside the macro and therefore with F5 the code is run. So I press F5. We get the input box and I enter the age of, well, let's say 55 and click on OK. The condition is met and we get the message box. Clicking OK ends the macro. Now let's try the macro once again, and now with an age of 45. F5 to start, we enter 45 and clicking on OK. And nothing else happens. That's perfect. This concludes the simple if-then statement. But let us take a step further. What if we want additionally show the user who is 50 or below that he is not generation 50 plus? So if he is above 50, he gets the message, you are generation 50 plus, and age below, he gets the message, sorry, you are too young. In this case, we have to use the if-then-else statement. If a condition is met, then something happens. Else, something different happens. I will add 2 blank lines after the message box and insert the else keyword. And between the else keyword and the and if, I write all code to be executed if the condition is not met. In our case, this is MSG box. Sorry, you are too young. OK button only, so VBA OK only, and as title age check. Please note the indentation of one single space of the else statement, so it is easy to distinguish between the two parts of the if statement, and also see the outline of the if statement. Short recap. We check if the age is greater 50. If this is true, then the code between the if and the else is executed. If this is not true, all code between the else and the and if is executed. Let us start the macro with F5 and first enter an age of 55. So F5, and I enter an age of 55. I click on OK, and you are generation 50 plus. Perfect, correct, fits. So pressing OK. Now we run the macro once again, and now we use an age of 45. I click on OK, and we get sorry, you are too young. And this is also correct. This is the if, then, else statement. Let us enhance our task a little further. In addition, if the user adds an age below 35, we should show the message, you are far too young for generation 50 plus. To recap, if the user is above 50, we show you are generation 50 plus. If the user is above 35 and up to 50, we show sorry, you are too young. In any other case, we show you are far too young for generation 50 plus. The first condition, if the user is above 50, stays untouched. But for the ages below, the else statement is no longer valid. We have to insert another if statement. For the case that an if follows an else, there exists a combination of both keywords, the else if statement. We alter the current else line to else if age greater 35 then. Which means that if in the case that the age is not above 50, then it is tested if the age is above 35. In this case we show, sorry, you are too young. This stays exactly the same. Now we only have to deal with the case that the age is 35 and below. And that's easy. We have the else if age greater 35. If this is true, we show, sorry, you're too young. And now, else message box, you are far too young for generation 50 plus and some exclamation marks. Button is VBA OK only as usual, and the title is once again age check. So let's recap what this construct does. If the age is above 50, then the next line is executed. If this is not true, then the else if line is executed, where we have another condition to meet. If the age is above 35, then the next line with you are too young is evaluated. In any other case, the part between else and and if is executed. It's important to see that the else is no longer part of the first if statement. It belongs to the else if statement. Now let's try our macro. Cursor is located inside the macro, so I press F5. Please enter your age. At first I enter an age of 55 and I click on OK. You are generation 50 plus. Perfect. Next run with an age of 45. Please enter your age. 45. OK. Sorry, you are too young. Correct. And now let's check it with an age of, let's say, 25. So I press F5. I once again enter an age, now 25, and I press OK. You are far too young for generation 50 plus. And that's the correct solution. Press OK and the macro ends. So the code runs perfectly correct, but I'm sure you have noticed a little bit. It's not the correctness of the code, it's the beautiness. Have a look at the last message box line. It's not indented correctly. So for the viewer, there is no distinction between the else and the message box line. So it seems to be on the same level, but is not correct. So I correct the indentation, and now we have a well-formed if, then, else statement. As last point, I show you the immediate if command. We started with a simple comparison for above 50 or not. Let's head back to the task and let us solve it in another way. I will name this sub age check alternative. So first delete these blank lines, then sub age check alternative, hitting enter, and sub is inserted. OK. The start is the same as the first solution, so we'll copy from the previous solution the dim and the input box. So dim and the input box, Ctrl C, Ctrl V for inserting. For this new solution, I need a string variable that contains the prompt presented to the user. I insert after the dim and dim message as string and continue after the input box to handle that outcome. We will assign something to the message variable that depends on the age. We use message, indenting message equals. Now we use the immediate if or if statement, which is more or less a compressed if then else statement and should only be used for simple tasks. So if. As you see, the tooltip shows us that we have to enter an expression. This expression is the condition we have to meet. So age greater 50. With comma, we separate the expression from the true part. What happens if the condition is met? In our case, we want to have the string you are generation 50 plus. So you are generation 50 plus. After another comma for the separation from the false part, we write the string that should be shown in any other case. That is sorry, oops, you are too young, closing parenthesis, and enter. Let us recap this line. We check if the age is greater than 50. If the condition is met, the string "you are generation 50 plus" is used. In any other case, the string "sorry, you are too young" is used. And the string will be assigned to the variable message. Now we only have to show the message box with the content of the variable message with msg box message as prompt, VBA I only, and age check as title. Hitting enter. Okay. That's all. Now let us start this macro and use first an age of 55. So cursor is located inside the macro, pressing F5. Please enter your age is 55. And clicking OK. You are generation 50 plus. Okay. Now once again started with F5 and now we enter 45. Click on OK and sorry, you are too young. We get the correct message. The main advantage of the immediate if is when you have to distinguish between two different values. The if statement is then a little bit more streamlined and the code is better to read. This concludes the if-then statement, if-then-else, and the immediate if. And we are at the end of this video. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.